Now, what is the judgment by the Supreme Court of India? Now, in this Keshwananda Bharati, you know that Keshwananda Bharati is a very important, case in the history of the judiciary and or the history of Indian polity. Keshwananda Bharati case, it is indeed a landmark judgment in the history of judiciary. So, specifically in this case, what has happened? The Supreme Court has made the judgment. Let us understand what is the judgment. Supreme Court has made that Parliament, basically you can say Supreme Court has reviewed its previous judgment. What was the previous judgment? The Goloknath case judgment, where Supreme Court denied no Parliament don't have power. But here what the Supreme Court has held? Supreme Court has held that Parliament can amend the fundamental rights, okay, and other provisions of Constitution, other provisions of Constitution subject to basic structure. Subject to basic structure. That means what Supreme Court of India has held that Parliament can amend any part of the Constitution, including fundamental rights, but Parliament cannot amend the basic structure. Okay, Parliament cannot amend the basic structure. Now, you can ask me, sir, one simple question: what is a basic structure? And let us understand this separately. Basic structure. For example, let's say there is a building. Let's say there is a building. There are, like, you can say, first floor and second floor. If you break this ground floor, what will happen? If you break the ground floor, what will happen? Entire building will collapse. Yes, the entire building will collapse. So Supreme Court of India has held that basic structures are like foundations for the country. Basic structures are like foundations for the country. So if you take the basic structure away, then what would happen? The country will destroy. Okay, the country will destroy. Now let us understand. If you ask me, then sir, then what are those basic structure? We will understand. First of all, we need to know that there is no country in the world who has basic structure. Only this basic structure you can see in India. And this basic structure is nothing but a judicial innovation. Judicial innovation. That means the Indian judiciary has created this basic structure. Okay. Now, if you ask me, sir, is there any list of basic structure? No, there is no list. So how can we know that what is the basic structure? We only know the basic structure by various judgment of the Supreme Court of India or the High Courts. Okay, there is no list. Neither judiciary has given any list, nor they have any plan to provide any list. So let me just write down what are the basic structure. Please, these are important. Try to remember. Number one, basic structure. One is sovereignty of India. Next is mandate to build a welfare state. Next is secularism. Next is democratic form of government. Okay, next is republic form of government. Next is parliamentary form of government. Next, free and fair election. Next, supremacy of constitution. Supremacy of constitution. Next, rule of law. Next, judicial review. Next, separation of power. Next, balance between or balance among three wings of the government. What are those three wings? Legislature, executive, and judiciary. Next, balance between fundamental rights and DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policies. The last one, there are certain fundamental rights which are also basic structure. Fundamental rights, Article 14, 15, 19, 21. Okay, so how many I have told you? I can say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. There are total 14 basic structures which we come to know from the various judgments of the Supreme Court of India. Okay, this is what we know from the judgment of Supreme Court of India. What did I say? That what is basic structure? Basic structures are like foundations. If they will go, then what would happen? What is the problem would happen? Then the country will collapse. Now, if you look at the basic structures, like sovereignty of India, it's very important. Mandate to build a welfare state, it's very important, isn't it? Secularism, democratic form of government, republic form of government, parliamentary form of government. So if we take any of the basic structure, like if we destroy any of the basic structure, like free and fair elections, supremacy of the constitution, rule of law, judicial review, separation of power, balance between three wings of the government, okay, fundamental rights, 14, 15, 19, 21. If we take any of the basic structure, or if we destroy any of the basic structure, then what would happen? There will be grave crisis in our country. So what was the judgment in the Supreme Court of India? In the case of Keshananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, the judgment by the Supreme Court of India held that yes, Parliament enjoys power to amend any provision of the Constitution, including the fundamental rights, subject to the basic structure. That means they cannot amend the basic structure.